Hey, what's up? I'm Pascal from Orangepixel and welcome to another video. I actually just been looking at the calendar and I have about 5 or 6 videos left before we end this year. That also means there is 5 or 6 weeks left in this year to work on my projects and get my deadline and things all solved. Now luckily Regulated City is almost there. I should be spending half this week and next week on that game and have it ready to release. But then there's still a couple of things that I could work on. But let's not talk about Regulated City. Let's talk about Gauntlet of Power. Heroes of Loot, the third game in the series, released it in May this year, pushed 4 big updates, want to push 1 more update before the year ends. And that's going to be this week's challenge. Right now it's Monday afternoon, video goes live Thursday afternoon, but I want to have this wrapped up on Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. That's not a lot of time, but luckily I have a plan for this. I know what I want to add, I just have to add it. And I'm actually going to steal and borrow a couple of things from my existing games, which hopefully makes this a faster process so that we can actually add new content to Heroes of Loot Gauntlet of Power. For those that never played Space Grunts, they will see a lot of new content in the game. For those that have played Space Grunts, I'm grabbing some stuff from that game and adding it to this one, because all my games are connected in one universe, and I'll show you that it actually makes sense. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today, so I'm not sure I'm gonna actually be able to fully complete all of this. Spent more time on the toilet than on my bed last night. Maybe I'm oversharing now, but I was also oversharing something last night with the toilet. Okay, so I should stop all this crap and just dive into the video. Not the crap, the video. Intro. So for those who have no idea what I'm talking about, this is Gauntlet of Power. I released it a few months ago, I think in May. It's a dungeon crawling roguelike with a interesting weapon system, and it's you should just check it out. There's a demo available on Steam. I'll put it up downstairs in the description. Go check it out. Now this game opens up with an intro animation where it shows you the Space Grunts coming through a portal into time, into the dungeons, trying to track a little ooze worm, which is one of the enemies in many of my games. They can't find it. The ooze worm crawls around, grabs a gauntlet and makes it a Gauntlet of Power, giving it a lot of special abilities. So that's in short the reason how Space Grunts is connected to Heroes of Loot. But that portal they came through doesn't vanish. So in theory, and I always plan to add this, there should be a portal in the dungeon somewhere that you can access and go through and find yourself in the world of Space Grunts. And I think I'm gonna add like a laser blaster like weapon there. I'm not sure what people think about that, because this is a dungeon game, so crossbows, magic, axes, swords. But now we're gonna add a little laser weapon thing that you can find in the Space Grunts world. So the first thing I need to do, add a Space Grunts world to the game. So that means grabbing graphics, probably from Space Grunts 1 or 2. Let's make them fit in the mold for this game. And we have a spacey dungeon going, and then we'll just add enemies and all those things. But let's start at the beginning, grabbing some graphics. So I'm now about an hour into the process and we have a lot of things already up and running. We have the space area. I actually grabbed the tile set that I've been creating for Space Grunt 3, my next project probably. I added some lights to it so that it gives a different vibe than the dungeon levels. And on top of that, I started adding some enemies. I grabbed those from Space Grunts 2. They are developed in the same way as Heroes of Loot. Originally, a little fun fact, Space Grunts 1 was called Heroes of Space, I think. I wanted to create Heroes of Loot, but in space, in science fiction, but it turned into a turn-based thing and I renamed it to Space Grunts. But originally it was a futuristic sequel to Heroes of Loot. So that's how everything now fits into this version of Heroes of Loot, Gauntlet of Power. We have a space area, we have aliens going around, and I grabbed the portal that's already in animation and I put it into the game as an actual portal that now opens up the door. For that you need to find a hyper shard. I also added that one, and the robot creature I added needed to shoot lasers, and you also have to find a blaster that will shoot some sort of lasers. So I also added graphics for the laser. So we have a lot of things going on now, and part of that is copy pasted from previous games or other games, and a couple of those things are developed completely fresh. So we're now an hour into it and I already have a bunch of things up and running. And that's really how I create these updates for existing games. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago, I think in a video. This is how I make it possible for myself. It has to be a fun and interesting update for the players. It doesn't matter how I create that or how I make that happen, as long as it's done in the fastest way possible. I think I'm on the right track. So let's dive into a new game quickly, just a casual one, blah, blah. Here we go. This is like the portal that we now have added to the game. So this is a normal starting dungeon. I'll give myself a little portal, which I think is number 47. Yeah, so this will be a portal. I still have to find a way to hide this thing in the game. I haven't really decided yet where it's gonna be, but yeah, it's gonna be in the game at some point. It doesn't do anything because we need a item, a shard. Let me see, I think that's number 81. Yeah, I added this little item, which is a hyper shard obtained. Now we can go over to this portal thingy here, use the hyper shard, it opens up, exit, and we move on, hopefully, and I haven't tested this part, to a space realm. Yes, we are now in the space realm, and we will have all these little robotic and alien type creatures moving around. Some of them are extremely fast, some of them are very strong, like the robot is a pretty tough one to beat. But this is like a bonus realm, so it should be a little bit more challenging than the normal levels are. You can avoid going into this area if you want. And oh, well, I might have still need to do some tweaking because I'm not really gonna survive these robots. Of course, normally I wouldn't be going in here with just an underpowered level up of an underpowered weapon system. Oh my, there's so much things going on. I can't concentrate and talk at the same time. Is that a normal thing? I don't know. How do other people do this? So, okay, I think I'm actually beating these guys, so we can move on. Except that I only have one heart left, so I wouldn't last very long in this version of the game. But normally, like I said, I would have a lot more power, and of course I can cheat myself into certain things. Let's just see if we can die on this one. I have to tweak some things. I don't want these imps or these statues to appear here. And this one shouldn't be here either, but that's because I'm cheating myself through the game. But I do have to look into these things a little bit, because things are going wrong and I still need to do some work on all of this, some code, and we're not there just yet. So that means I need to figure out where we're gonna hide this portal shard or the hypergate shard. That's really gonna dictate when the hypergate shows up, I think. We're not gonna put the hypergate at a certain dungeon area level. We're just gonna give you that shard somewhere in a later level, maybe because of a quest. I can force that, I'm pretty sure. So let's say you're gonna get the shard if you reach a quest monk in dungeon 5 or dungeon 4. Yeah, that should be, it shouldn't be at the start of the level, because you're gonna get a pretty impressive weapon. A laser gun while everybody is shooting arrows and fireballs. That's a pretty good weapon. So we're gonna do that in dungeon 4. As soon as the first quest monk appears in dungeon 4, it will give you a shard if you complete the quest. Once you have the shard, the next level will have an hypergate. I think that's a pretty cool thing to add. So that's something I'm going to figure out. Shouldn't be very hard. And then I need to do, I have more stuff written down. I need to add you actually, give you that weapon. So I need to come up with a fun weapon that you can earn. And you have to earn that by defeating an end boss. Right, forgot about that part. The space realm needs an end boss. So I need to come up with a new end boss design and draw it, and then draw the big version of it. So there's actually some drawing that needs to be done. This is going to take the most time, that whole boss thing, and I don't like adding bosses to my games, but I need to add another boss, which is going to be boss 15 or 16. I don't like adding them, but this game has a lot of them. So that's one of the things. I want to add more room layouts to the game in this update. So just a couple of variations of the room layouts. We have like vertical, we have smaller rooms, and then we have some rooms that have certain walls in it that block you. And I'm not doing kung fu, I'm explaining things in a very terrible way. I want to add some more room layouts, and I have a little over 1 day to add all of that to the game. The boss fight is going to take the most time, So I should dive into that as soon as possible. So we're now an hour later, but I also edited the video, as you can see it, up to this point already, because that's how I like to do these challenges. Do all the work on a day, but then keep a little room every day to edit the video, or otherwise these videos are not gonna happen or work out. Anyway, I was uninspired for the end boss, so I went digging through existing art and I found this cool little background piece from Residual. In Residual, it just is a, like I said, a background piece. It's there, you walk past it, it doesn't really do anything. But when I drew this originally, I knew it would be like some sort of ancient robotic thing that was just shut off, just standing there in this planet in Residual, just not doing anything. But it could have been alive at some point, or alive as far as robots are alive. So I decided to shrink it down to a proper size. It was way too big for Gaunt of Power. Cleaned it up a little bit and started animating it, and now I have it up and running in the game. It doesn't do anything, it just hovers there and has a little animation going on, but it doesn't really do anything just yet. That's going to be the next phase. So 3 attacks. Should be fairly simple to add them. I'm gonna borrow code from other bosses and get it up and running. Also, I'm at the end of my Monday. I might actually do all this, but I won't have time to record and edit it all. So let's just move on to Tuesday and see what's happening. Tuesday morning, and I have the first thing stuck in my throat. Tuesday morning, and I have the first attack ready for the boss. Now, first, I had him shoot like little tiny lasers that I added to the game for the main character, for the player. But sometimes size does matter. Let's be honest. This wasn't looking very good, so I decided to add a very big laser and have it shoot that. Which actually is a lot more interesting on the screen. It's a lot more interesting for the player to avoid these things, a bit more difficult. And it does make a bigger impression. So we now have the first attack wave. The second is what I'm currently working on, trying to add that electricity type attack. So it's gonna drop, I don't know, electricity on the floor, and that makes it harder for the player to avoid moving in those spots, I guess. I'm making these things up as I go. So I'm just trying out stuff, and I have electricity in the game already, so I'm using that. Because as mentioned, try to reuse as much as you can to get cool updates for your game. So we're reusing that electricity, and we'll see if it's actually fun to play. And hopefully if it's not, I'll get some good ideas on how to improve on that. So I'm gonna work on that second attack, electricity. So just a few minutes later, and let me lower the volume, we have the second attack up and running. We can see now that it shoots electricity. I originally had it just shoot it in like a semicircle type thing. Then I had it randomly place things, but this now crawls towards the player, which is interesting, I think. It means you have to run away from it and then try to attack the enemy and destroy it. That's a phase that's not implemented because his energy bar is empty, but he's still there. I'll get to that. I want to add a third attack, dropping robots around the room, just so that there's more stuff to shoot for the player, I guess. Should be an easy attack, just spawn a bunch of things, so should be just a couple of minutes work. So as expected, the third attack is pretty simple. Just spawn a couple of robots, and they do give you a lot of grief as they start to move towards you and start shooting at you. Now putting that all together, we have a pretty cool boss fight. That leaves me with one thing, and that's add a little boss splash. I think it's a pretty cool screen where it shows the boss that you're about to encounter and its name. But for that I do need to do a little drawing. So I opened up GIMP and started drawing. Now for this boss splash, I long time ago decided to use a pretty simple art style. It's really grabbing this pixel art version of the boss, resizing it full screen or big enough that it's almost full screen, and then start redrawing it with a very thick brush. So a 2 pixel tight brush, and that gives it a very thick outline. Then we start And then we slowly start adding details to it, and here and there use different types of brush sizes so that we can add single pixel details. And it really is about recreating this pixel art version in a bigger version, really screen filling, which hopefully makes an impression on a player. Now we add some extra details here and there, making it look cool. Some electricity on the floor because it's shooting electricity, and we add a nice name on it, and putting it all together into the game, we get the result of a cool intro for a new boss fight. So that means the boss fight is now done, and that leaves me with adding the weapon that you can actually collect after defeating the boss. This is going to take most of the work, I think. It has to integrate into the weapon system. I have to make variations of it that can level up. Maybe if I have the time and inspiration for it, I'll make a new combo weapon, because in this game you can combine certain weapons together to make something new. That would mean I add 2 new weapons to the update, which is not a bad thing. I just need to make sure it's an interesting one. So we'll see if that's gonna happen. I still have the whole afternoon to work on this and the level layouts that I wanted to add, but we're getting close to having a full update. Now, of course, I also have to test all these things before I can push the update button, but that should be the fun part of all of this. So let's get back to work. I added the weapon to the game and that's all working, but I also came to the conclusion I made a little problem for myself. Since this weapon won't be unlockable until Dungeon 4, there's a big chance the player already has all of the weapons in his circle filled up, and there's no room to add this blaster. That's a little bit of a problem. So I either have to move the blaster earlier into the game, but it's gonna be... I don't want to do that. I'm gonna have to figure out a different solution for the blaster. Maybe it doesn't link to your gauntlet, but it's like a second weapon. Then I have to rewrite everything that ties into the weapon system, and that's gonna feel very hacky. I'm not sure how I'm gonna solve this. So maybe I'll just first do the level designs now. The weapon is in, but I have a problem. I created a problem, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna solve it. I'll figure it out. Okay, so I decided to work on the weapon problem first. It's now a forced upgrade, which didn't fit in the system because so far weapons weren't forced, and it's also a replacement weapon. So that means I had to add functionality to the level up system. So now that you get the blaster, the power up screen shows and you can place this blaster on any of the directions. If there's another weapon there, you replace it. It removes that weapon, no matter what level it was, it's gone, and the blaster is positioned on that direction. Now you can cancel it, you can just decide not to use the blaster at all. It's a bit of a hacky system. I just need to thoroughly test this. It went too easy. I must have broken something somewhere. A few hours later, and I have done everything I wanted to do in the patch. I was just in the flow, so I started adding level layouts. Added 4 new layouts, might squeeze out a few more. These layouts are not extremely difficult to add. It's the room, and then we add a couple of walls here and there, just to give the player that little bit of variation and not having every room look the same. Also took some time to add 2 new items. Let me show you those items. So the 2 items are Sharp Heart and Jar of Souls. The Sharp Heart item activates when one of your life containers depletes. So every X amount of hits, it will shoot a bunch of knives in 360 degrees around you until that item is used up. And the Jar of Souls actually throws a soul creature type thing that's also in one of the weapons towards the enemy that hits you. So every time you get hit and you have this Jar of Souls, a soul will escape and attack the enemy that was attacking you. Very interesting items to have in the game. I'll add them to the item pool and they will show up as people are playing. So we have a lot of stuff done, and I still have some time left on my Tuesday. I'll make an image for Steam page first. Every time I do an update, I include a little graphic, a little artwork that shows some of the new things in the game. That looks good, have a nice title on there. So I'll just smash a bunch of these graphics and probably the end boss into one single image, and we'll have a nice update. I'll also have to type out an update post. I can post that on Steam and on the Orangepixel website. I think that wraps up my challenge to have this update done and ready to go on Thursday as this video goes live. And that leaves me with the rest of the week to work on Regulator City. So yeah, I'll set up this update and it should be live by the time you're watching this video. So go check out Gaunt of Power. The demo is up there for free, but the game is very much worth it. So check it out. Don't forget to leave a review. We're stuck on 62 very positive reviews, but it would be cool to push that upwards towards the 70. So please, if you have not reviewed it yet, go do that now. If you haven't bought the game yet, to leave a review, buy the game, play it, and then leave a review. And it also wraps up this video. So I would like to thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, hop on the Discord and come say hi and chat with all of us. And I will see you next week. Bye.